This video will cover our next business message assignment on bad news messages. So recall in week 3 that we're covering both persuasive and bad news messages. So when you click in, again, you've got the instructions for both assignments, and we're going to focus this video on bad news business letter. So the topic is bad news, and the format is the business letter. So let's go ahead and look at the instructions. In this scenario, you are the facilities manager for Fifth Wheel Bikes, a bicycle design and manufacturing company. One of your employees, Stuart Dent, is an administrative assistant who's been with the company for a couple of years and has contributed in different ways in terms of posters and logos for your company. Last month, the company created a new position for a graphic designer to help with brochures, websites, and promo materials. Stuart applied for the job, but you were looking for and hired an external candidate with more professional experience, specifically in the areas that you actually needed. So you're going to have to inform Stuart in writing through a business letter that he was not selected for the position. So again, make sure you read through the requirements of the assignment, and it's going to help you as a checklist to make sure you've covered all your bases in terms of content and organization, effectiveness, and format. Now, again, I'm going to focus on particular slides from week 3 that will help you organize your business letter. Now recall the slides are structured to follow the 10 steps so that you can think about, outline, and write your assignment successfully in the format of a business message. And so if we look at how to organize a bad news message, it uses the inductive approach, meaning we include detail first and then main message towards the end. That way it prepares the reader for the bad news. So to organize the content, your opening is going to be neutral. It's not positive, not negative, and we'll talk about what that looks like in a minute. Then there's your body that gradually leads the bad news, meaning you'll talk about the reasons and justifications to help the receiver understand and accept the news that's implied before they actually receive it. And then you'll give the bad news. So the bad news itself doesn't appear till about midway or after in the message. And then you'll want to include some kind of positive redirect or counterproposal to help make them feel better. And then a closing, of course. So the neutral buffer opening doesn't reveal the bad news too early and doesn't build false hopes. So some ways you can do that for this assignment, for instance, is you could compliment Stuart on his past work. You can talk about something that you both agree on. You can thank him for his past contributions, for instance, or simply describe the previous circumstances of, hey, you applied for a job. So pick and choose what makes sense for you. And then you'll want to get into explaining the bad news without giving it just yet. So you'll explain your reasons for making the decision that you're about to state. And this should help the reader understand and accept the news. Avoid company policy if possible, because that is not very compassionate or empathetic to the reader. Then you'll actually deliver the bad news, and you'll want to deliver it in a passive voice in general terms. Try to use positive language if possible, so don't say unfortunately or we regret to inform you. Those are quite negative in tone. And then you want to imply the bad news if possible, or state it like rip the band-aid off, quick, clean. But you want to make sure that they understand and there's no confusion on what the bad news is. With the positive redirect, you want to focus on an alternative, next steps, something positive, and if possible, offer a counterproposal, something that you are willing to do for Stuart to make him feel better. And then your closing, again, de-emphasize the negative, try to stay positive, include a forward-looking idea, unify the message in a way that emphasizes the relationship or the company. Avoid rehashing the bad news. You don't want to keep reminding him of what you've just shared. Avoid shallow statements, like thank you for your time. And don't say anything that may cause future controversy or issues. So let's look at an example of a poorly written bad news message. You can see some of my comments here, for instance. Here, this writer forgot to include their sender's address. Then comes the date and the receiver's address and a greeting. Here is the buffer or the neutral buffer statement. It starts out with thank you for taking the time to apply for the graphic designer position. So it restates the situation and says thank you. However, the second statement can be confusing because it talks about the qualifications being impressive and intriguing. This can lead to false hope. So be careful of what you state in this neutral buffer statement, because in the very next paragraph, this writer jumped right into the bad news way too soon and uses negative connotation. In addition, it's vague because it says one of the reasons he didn't get the job is the position had more expectations, but doesn't say what those expectations are. So you want to be specific, otherwise Stuart's not going to understand why he didn't get the job and will feel hurt and angry. Now, in this third paragraph, the writer includes a positive spin and a counter proposal. So in this case, the counter proposal is a raise, and the positive spin is that there might be future opportunities to apply for. Okay. And then for the closing, again, it's positive and links the relationship between Stuart and the company. However, the last statement opens up a door for the opportunity to complain or argue. And you don't want to do this. So this could potentially be an issue. Then you've got your closing, your name, and your title. So here's an example of a well-written bad news letter. Again, you've got your sender's information, your date, the receiver's information, a greeting. Here's your neutral buffer statement. It's appreciative for his applying to the job and dedication to the company. Then goes into the rationale. Here it's highlighting other candidates, the requirements of the position, and the importance of having an experienced graphic designer for the company. So here it's implying that Stuart didn't get the job. You can, if you wanted, even probably for more clarity, make the statement that the company has decided to hire an outside candidate. That'd probably make this paragraph a bit stronger. Now, in the third paragraph, this is the positive redirect and counter proposal. Again, they talk about what a great employee Stuart is, and then they offer a raise and also the opportunity to work with and learn from the graphic designer to build skills and experiences so he can apply in the future again. So those are all good ways to focus on the positive of the situation. And then here's your closing. Again, connecting the relationship between Stuart and the company, and being hopeful that Stuart will stay happy and take up the counter proposal that was offered. And then again, you've got your closing, your name, and your title. So that's an example of bad news letter. Again, everyone's will look a little bit different. You can come up with different ideas. Don't feel like this is the model one. Like I said, this one isn't perfect either, but it's just better than that first example I showed you. So again, good luck with the assignment. I look forward to reading it.